Going on, everyone? John Matrix here. Hope you're all having yourselves a wonderful day wherever you're at, whenever you're watching this. We're gonna be jumping into a new, I guess, analog horror mystery-esque universe here today. This was requested for me to check out by one of my YouTube members. We're gonna be checking out some stuff about the Magnus archives. We're gonna be checking out Magnus Archives Explored Modern Horror. This is good as Lovecraft's Unthinkable Terror. So this video is by Marvelous Videos. So yeah, I'm looking forward to checking this out. Don't know what this is about, what it's gonna be, getting into here, but looking forward to seeing what this is about. So links will be down below, as always, in the description to the original video and to Marvelous Videos channel. So please do me a favor, if you enjoy this video when we go through it, be sure to give it a like and go to his channel, check out his stuff, and see if he's got any content you like, and hit that sub button and show him some love. Yeah, so I think we're just gonna jump into this video here, guys. If you enjoy it, consider leaving a like and a sub on my channel. It helps me and the channel grow. Lets the YouTube algorithm gods know that you enjoy this kind of content and you want to see some more. And there's a join button in this video if you want to check out the membership benefits and tiers that I have to offer. If you've been around the channel for a while, want to take your sport to the next level, it's a way to do it. So check all that stuff out. But for now, let's jump into this. Again, Magnus Archives Explored by Marvelous Video. Let's see what this is about. Volume out, let's go.
The most chilling horror podcast of the decades, Magnus Archives. Horror fiction isn't the most conventional way to get into the holiday season, but conventional isn't exactly a virtue in horror circles. No sir, so let's do it. Magnus Archives is a story about a paranormal activity research institute that starts out as a creepy anthology of cases from the institute's archives. But later on, we get into the dark nature of the institute itself, as seen through the eyes of its head archivist, John Sims. Magnus Archives feels like an eldritch horror that takes human fear and makes it into a very real entity that watches you, suffocates you, and revels in your dread.
Interesting.
The podcast is a complete thrill. The stories are gritty, backed by hair-raising sound design, often leaving us with something to think about. In this video, we'll bust open the terrifying world of the Magnus Archives for you, what the series is all about, and give it a star rating. There are going to be some spoilers, but we'll keep it pretty general, without too many plot details. Towards the end, though, we are going to break down 2 episodes.
That's cool looking artwork.
But before we go on, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing. It's a small click for you, but it means the world to us. Thank you. Magnus Archives, an introduction. Before I knew such a thing as the Magnus Archives existed, if anyone had told me that a horror fiction podcast was capable of making my hair stand on end as I compulsively consume one whole season on a binge, I would have had to agree to strongly disagree. A seasoned Lovecraftian horror or an eerie cyberpunk is much more my thing. Audio horror is completely off my radar, if I'm being honest. But now that I've gone through the Magnus Archives podcast, that thought is as redundant as yesterday's newspaper. Magnus Archives started out as a podcast about the occurrences of a fictional paranormal activity research institution called the Magnus Institute. The audio show relayed horror stories from the Institute's archives and later moved into the Institute's connection with the supernatural entities it harbors. We got 5.
So it's almost kind of like, it's a podcast, right? But it sounds almost kind of like a modern version of like an old-timey like radio play show. Kind of, I guess, like how War of the Worlds was originally. Like War of the Worlds originally was like, I think it was a book, right? But then it got like done as a radio play. And it was even done so well to the point that, people thought it was real, it was going on, because they didn't, put the disclaimer at the beginning of the audio play that this is only fiction, this isn't real. They didn't let people know afterwards, and people were offing themselves essentially because they thought it was real. At least that's the story from what I know. That could be just one of those urban legend things. But yeah, that's pretty cool. That's kind of a cool way to do. When you think of podcasts, you think of like just a bunch of people sitting around, on microphones talking to each other about various, subjects, whatever they're talking about that you're interested in. But the idea of doing kind of like, I guess a modern audio play that way, it's an interesting way to do it. I hadn't really thought of something like that, or thought of like a podcast being done that way.
5 seasons of the paranormal saga from 2016 to 2021, and each episode is presented in such a unique and captivating way that one cannot help but get utterly hooked. Magnus Archives was an exceedingly popular audio series. If Rusty Quill, the man who brought these stories to us, were to drop another season, folks would be right there, listening in from the very first cut. The most recent installment of this series is a sequel called The Magnus Protocol, which dropped in January 2024. A shout out must go to the creators of Magnus Archives for delivering this amazing body of work to us. The writer of the series, Jonathan Sims, has been a complete instrument of fright with the content. The stories he churns out make for short episodes, just under a half-hour long, but a perfect listen, even on the go. Alexander J. Newell directed each episode with complete atmospheric angst that ensured the first and third seasons especially lived rent-free in my mind for days after I had listened to them. Where other creators may have chosen longer runtimes for their stories, cranking that ever-present, creepy score in the back, Newell kept the episodes short and extremely well-paced. He also pulled back on the score so the listeners could pay attention to the voiceovers that perfectly capture the sense of fright all the stories are building the series up to. He only brought in that ill-boding background music in the moments when the horror was really shoring in. The constant crackling of the cassette tape sound was one of my favorite things about the sound design Newell used. It helped create a feeling of the bygone past, a grainy mood with the choppy air of helplessness and dread. Brilliant horror atmosphere in all. Given the series' popularity, the Magnus Archives
cool
role-playing game launched in October 2024
Oh, they were
with
a role-playing game too, huh?
Monty Cook has released a gorgeous hardcover with all the details on the Magnus Archives world and the game you can imagine. Now, let us get into the meat of the Magnus Archives podcast. We'll delve into what this 5
Why does that guy not have a face?
seasons long, nerve-wracking tale is all about.
Don't even
main
with your group?
characters
Sick.
and some early episodes for you to chew on. Magnus Archives, the season's progression. The Magnus Archives pack in small, spooky stories with spine-chilling bits at the end that validate the paranormal entities in the story. There's also a meta-plot that links all the stories together. We're always getting more information on mysterious things within the Magnus Institute. As the listeners begin to relate to the main characters, they return to see what becomes of the spooky stuff going on around them, as much as the standalone stories. What will keep you locked into this podcast season after season is the concept of the fears. All of the crazy, unnerving stuff that's going on in the Magnus Institute and with the subjects whose statements are kept on record in the archives have been caused by the supernatural manifestations called the fears. These fears are very real entities that exist in a separate dimension just outside of our own. The fears cannot survive without spreading and feeding on the people in our world, so they find ways and seep into our world. The concept isn't
Kind of an interesting concept, right? Yeah, like these beings that just feed off our fears that live in another dimension just outside of ours, but can like jump in and interfere with ours.
Exactly brand new in the horror genre, not by any means. But the way the Magnus Archives sets it up through the stories is fantastic. The fears come inside our world by possessing or leeching onto people or objects that exist within our dimension. They also form avatars, which are basically people who work with the fears, like a collab of sorts. The fear becomes a part of these people. The fear patron lends some of its powers to its avatar. Now, there are 15 of these fear entities in all, which encompass all the things that people fear in this world. These are the buried, the corruption, the dark, the desolation, the eye, the flesh, the slaughter, the spiral, the hunt, the lonely, the stranger, the vast, the web, the end, and the extinction. The fears comprise the torment the namesake misgiving brings into a person. They manifest in a physical form and as the mental unease that accompanies the particular misgiving. For instance, the eye refers to the fear of somebody watching you. All of the things that fall into that category, like being stalked or followed, or having your deep, dark secrets exposed, are within the sphere of the dread the eyes conjures. This fear also extends to the human curiosity that seeks to be the eye, like someone wanting to know too much, the desire to unearth hidden things at the risk of being caught.
So the eye is basically just Zinch. I got you. Okay.
Or even destroyed. What would you do if you were a victim of the eye? Someone who watches you suffer and be terrorized and silently gorges itself on your suffering, growling all the more in strength for it. The eye can manifest in our dimension as anything that watches, like human eyes, cameras, books, or even surveillance equipment. The original story has changed quite a bit in the latest sequel, Magnus Protocol. There are new characters with a toxic workplace setting in a new timeline that's supposed to recount modern-day events. But in today's video, we will focus on the original Magnus Archives and its characters. Main characters: Jonathan Sims. The writer of the podcast, Jonathan Sims, has named the main character after himself and also does the voice for Sims' character, which I thought was pretty cool. John Sims is the head archivist of the Magnus Institute, and to start with, he truly seems to detest the position he's in. He does not believe all the supernatural hocus pocus. He's often sarcastic and short with the paranormal experiences.
So he's the Dana Scully of the group, huh?
Of Magnus Institute subjects, but as the story develops and he begins to understand the uncanny stuff happening with these people and also within the Institute, he becomes more compassionate. Sasha James. An archival assistant to John, Sasha collects the proof needed to establish the validity of the cases at the Institute archives. In the episode Infestation, Sasha is supplanted with an entity called Non-Sasha. Non-Sasha takes on Sasha's entity using a different host body.
Interesting.
Tim Stoker. Timothy Stoker, or Tim, is the second archival assistant. While he's a valuable researcher, during his tenure with the archives, he seemed to become cynical, disturbed even. He even acts out in anger sometimes, especially while interacting with John. Martin Blackwood. Martin is the third archival assistant to John, whom John initially considers more of a hindrance than assistance. Later on in the series, Martin and John become quite close. Martin is a reserved guy who doesn't do parties or other social gatherings all that well. Elias Bouchard. Elias is the head of the Magnus Institute. He tries to play it cool with the weird things in the Institute earlier in the series, but is later found to have a dark story of his own. He's one of those characters whose actions are so closely knit with the plot that I can't give you much more on him without spoiling things for you. So let's move on to Gertrude Robinson. Gertrude was the former head archivist of the Magnus Institute who went missing in 2015. Her fate was discovered later on by Martin. She had a cold demeanor and seemed to be all business. However, her real motives are slowly uncovered through successive seasons as John and his assistants try to learn more about her time at the Institute. Basira Hussein. I really like this character. Basira is a police officer, and she's got her principles clearly laid out. She is all about quit moaning about stuff, get up and get working. She's assigned to the weird cases workload on the force.
She's the dummy
and
mommy
what's more weird than the Magnus Institute cases, right? Well, she gets involved in cases that lead her to the Magnus Institute. Magnus Archives also has a bunch of side characters that are extremely memorable. Gerard Kier, or Jerry, is a fan favorite. Donning eye tats all over, with his badly dyed black hair and mommy issues, this character added an offbeat assortment to the story. Okay, so we're getting into spoiler territory now, okay? Be warned. We'll do a detailed breakdown of the first 2 episodes, but trust me when I tell you,
this art gives me Berserk vibes.
These episodes are just the tip of the iceberg. There are way more notorious and bone-chilling stories as we go deeper into the first season and further down the later installments, especially seasons 3 and 4, with some downright ominous ones waiting for you. The Blanket Never Did Anything and Lost John's Cave are my favorites. Anywho, let's give you a head start with the leading 2. Anglerfish, Episode 1. The pilot episode introduces John's take on the Magnus Institute and its archiving department. It's a light episode that nevertheless sets a sinister tone for the series.
I mean, Anglerfish, you know, it's kind of one of those... It already kind of gives the idea of, like, getting baited into something, right? That could be, like... The title could be a meta thing, you know, where... they're throwing out the bait to kind of hook you into the story and the show, kind of a thing, you know? I get it.
Newly promoted to head archivist, John Sims is pretty annoyed with the state of the Magnus Institute's archives. The case files are vast, most of them unresolved mysteries, and all of them are handwritten. John is annoyed at Gertrude Robinson, the head of archiving before.
I don't know why, with this picture, like, does this look like he's... This is where my brain goes, okay? But it looks like he's like, hey, man, do this line of coke off my finger. Trying to, like, give him a little hit. Just like, you know what I'm saying?
For him for not digitizing the files.
I mean, look at his eyes. Those look like someone that had a couple hits.
Because now that burden falls on him. He begins the process aided by 3 assistants. Tim, Sasha, and Martin. John's attempts to put the audio on his laptop are met with strange audio disruptions, so he goes through the transcripts and puts them on tape. John considers the first statement by Nathan Waltz, a student who experienced a paranormal presence in the most distorted of settings. His story begins many years ago, April 2012 to be exact. Nathan and his friends had been at a party, and as can be expected of hale and hearty college young'uns, they had got drunk off their rockers. At some point in the night, Nathan decided to stagger home. He took the route that crosses through London's Old Fish Market area. The way had quite a few steep hills, and Nathan ended up taking a nasty tumble down one. As he picked himself off the ground and got his bearings right, he heard a voice. This startled his beer-bathed senses. He wasn't aware that there was anyone out there other than him. He looked up at a dark alley, an offshoot from his road. A little further down the alley, there were some stairs going up with a light fixture above them, but the lights were out. There was a figure in the alley, but no light at all to show what this person was about. The figure swayed a little bit, as mirages do, and for a moment, Nathan felt that his inebriated mind was playing tricks on him. But then it said those words again. "Can I have a cigarette?" Nathan rolled a cigarette and held it out, but the figure didn't move any closer to him. As Nathan's eyes adjusted and zeroed in on the guy, he realized that his skin was sickly and sunken, and his whole vibe reminded him of an anglerfish. Hold tight, guys. Things are about to get creepier. The figure repeated the same cigarette request for the third time, but this time, Nathan noticed that his mouth didn't move a smidge. The figure's feet weren't even touching the ground. It was just gliding over from side to side. Watching this was like a scary wake.
So that's what the creature does. It tries to bait you in with some kind of request, and you get close enough and it'll snatch you up.
A call for Nathan's dehydrated wits. He darted out of there straight home. Nathan nursed the hangover till the following morning. When he found himself workable and upright, he returned to the Old Fish Market in the brightness of the morning. There was no sign to point to anything weird happening around there, but he did see a rolled up Marlboro lying under the stairs up ahead in the alleyway he had witnessed the night before. Over the next few days, Nathan researched the hell out of this thing. He even talked to some friends about what had happened to him that night, but people just looked back at him like he was nuts. Then something happened that validated Nathan's bizarre experience. A student, John Fellow from Nathan's college, went missing. This guy was at the same party Nathan had gone to the night of his encounter with the floating figure. Later, the police found that John Fellow had gone missing around the Old Fish Market area. In John's missing person picture, Nathan curiously peeped a pack of Marlboros sticking out of his pocket. That was the end of Nathan's statement. John wasn't convinced by the story of a drunken college guy at all, but he did notice that the police had found 6 disappearances in the Old Fish Market area over time. One of the people disappearing, Ashley Dobson's last picture before the disappearance, was taken by her and sent to her sister from the same dark alley that Nathan had described. She was standing with the murky alleyway in the back saying, "Check out this drunk creeper, LOL." But there was no one in the picture in the alley behind her. It was dark and empty. When Nathan's assistant Sasha ran Ashley's picture through some editing programs, increasing the contrast to an excessively high level, it revealed the outline of a long, thin hand there. Wow, that mental image just made my skin crawl all over again. The next episode, however, gets even more unsettling. Do Not Open. Episode 2. This episode is about the statement of Joshua Gillespie, the man who had to accept the unnatural in his home and design his life around it to survive.
Is the rest of this video just going to get into what they're talking about with the first couple episodes? I kind of want to, if that's the case, I kind of want to like not watch these just so I don't spoil the rest of it. You know what I'm saying? So I kind of just want to go into those episodes as blind as possible for when I do some reactions to these. That seems to be the case. I'm just going to skip ahead to after that part here.
You guys to crack. Star rating 4.5 out of 5. The podcast amps its scare quotient to top shelf every episode and keeps it up there throughout the series. That's a hard thing to pull off. There's literally nothing negative I can say about the Magnus archives. The sound design, writing and voiceovers, pacing, and everything else is well thought out.
Definitely sounds
brilliant
like something I'd be interested in.
Overall. We stamp the series Marvelous approved with 4.5 stars. Marvelous verdict. One thing that I found especially enticing about the Magnus archives was the way each subsequent episode got spookier as the series progressed. Yes, there were some episodes that stand out overall, like Lost John's Cave, but the way the podcast starts off, it really eases the viewer in before pulling out the big guns. We also gradually learn about the dread lurking within the Institute and in the tunnels under it at a gradual pace. The Magnus Archives is a horror fanatic's dream podcast. I haven't quite got into anything exclusively audio-wise like this that got me so jittery. I was literally jumping out of my chair at the smallest sounds as I went through this. But I'd also tuned in late at night, totally alone in the house, so there might have been a lapse of judgment there. The Magnus Archives is as legit as it gets. Okay. I mean, if this isn't already a campsite storytime favorite, I don't know what y'all are doing out there. All right, that's all from us on the Magnus Archives today. I hope you've had as much fun hanging out with us as we had making this video for you. If you liked this video, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one. Peace.
All right, well, there we go. So that was kind of like an overview of what the Magnus Archives is by Marvelous Videos. Like I said, the links will be down below in the description as always to the original video here without my commentary and reaction, and to the Marvelous Archives channel. So if you enjoyed this video, be sure to go over and give it a like, and if you enjoy the content they have on their channel, be sure to hit that sub button. Definitely sounds like something I would be interested in checking out. I mean, you know, the idea, like I said, of them kind of making an old-timey kind of radio, you know, science fiction play into a podcast with, you know, a kind of sci-fi horror narrative sounds interesting. And the idea that there are these numerous eldritch beings, each one of them represents a certain kind of fear, and they essentially, you know, feed off of your fears. They even seem to like make pacts with people to do things in our physical realm, because I guess maybe they can't fully enter our physical realm. So yeah, interesting ideas and concepts. I skipped ahead through the video just because this is going to be something I'm going to get in and watch. I don't want to have too many, you know, spoilers. They already went through the first episode and kind of summarized that. So I'd rather just listen to the podcast and listen to everything fully all the way through to get a genuine reaction from, instead of, you know, having anything kind of spoiled. So that's why I skipped ahead from him talking about the second one, but it'll definitely something we'll probably check out here in the channel. So I mean, yeah, let me know down in the comments if that's something you guys be interested in. If this is checking out this Marvelous, or not Marvelous, I was gonna say Marvelous Videos, but this Magnus Archives podcast, you know, let me know down in the comments. I'll definitely look forward to checking this out. So thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, consider leaving a like and a sub. That helps me and the channel grow. There's a join button underneath the video if you want to take your support to the channel to the next level. There are check out the YouTube membership benefits and tiers that I have to offer, and see if any of that would have any interest for you. But I greatly appreciate you guys taking the time out of your busy day to sit and hang out and watch the video. Hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you're having a great one. See you on the next one, guys.